really chaotic. Questioning if this video was even a good idea. I feel ridiculous. Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel. And for today's video, I thought that it would be fun to do a little comparison of what it's like to make a garment out of expensive yarn and inexpensive yarn. And I'm going to be showing you all of the pros and the cons along the way. I think that both of these types of yarns can have their place, and I think that everybody has a different budget and different priorities when it comes to yarn. So I don't want there to be any sort of yarn shaming in this video. But as somebody who is pretty new to making garments and as somebody who is very new to using fancy yarn, I thought that this could maybe give you guys some helpful insights of what it's like to work with both. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at these. So for our fancy yarn of the day, we do have this one right here, which is by Get Knit Faced in Colorado. And the owner of this business, Michelle, reached out to me and asked if she could send me over some of her yarn to try out, which was so nice of her. So thank you, Michelle. And I mean, this colorway, it is so gorgeous. Let's read a little bit more about this. This is called Not Quite a Princess. That is the name of the colorway. And it is a 75% fine superwash merino wool and then 25% nylon. This is 246 yards. As I already mentioned, I am still pretty new to the fancy yarn game. I do think the only other hand-dyed and only other merino wool yarn that I have ever worked with before was in the favorite yarn video, where I tried out your favorite yarns, and I tried out the Malabrigo one, and this does feel very similar to that. I believe that one was worsted weight and this one is DK weight, so it's a little bit thinner, but it does have just that nice, soft, like squishy texture to it. I love that. And now we are going to get into the math a little bit later in the video once we are done with both of the pieces, just to see exactly how much it costs to make each item. But I can already tell you that this one is, I believe, $29 per skein. So that is our fancy yarn of the day. Okay, so now for our more affordable yarn of the day, and that is this Mainstays yarn. Now, I have tried Mainstays Velvet and I've tried Mainstays Chenille, but this is the first time I'm ever trying the Mainstays acrylic yarn. As far as what it feels like in the skein, I would say that it's, somewhere in between a Red Heart Super Saver that's more on the scratchy side and a Big Twist Value, which is more of a softer acrylic. It's kind of right in the middle of those two, just feeling it in the skein anyway. What I did to find this affordable option was I just went into my local Walmart and I found one of the cheapest yarns that I could that I still really liked, which I love this colorway. And that is the one that I picked up. And like I said, this is a 100% acrylic yarn. This is 285 yards, and this is a size 4 medium. I did want to originally get a size 3 just so we could match this one a little bit better, but I could not find anything in a size 3 that I really liked for this project, so we just went with a size 4. And this colorway, let's see, is called Purple Blend. And I do believe that this was about $2.50. I know it's between $2.50 and $3. I will put it on the screen exactly how much I paid for this. So for today's video, we are going to be making more top-down raglans. Yes, I know. I've been a little bit obsessed with making these lately, but if you know me, you know that I get stuck on a pattern and I just want to make it on repeat. So that's where we're at. But also I thought that it would be the best way for me to test out a new yarn is to test it on a pattern that I am already really familiar with. And so that is what we're going to be doing today. Now, as I'm sitting here right now, I have actually already started on both of them, but I'm going to roll to that montage and then we'll meet back here to talk about my first impressions of both of these yarns. I know that people will be asking me what pattern I use to create these raglans. And I initially learned how to make a top-down raglan from this pattern from MJ Off the Hook Design, but I found that I don't particularly like starting with the collar, and instead I start with the yoke and I go back in and add the collar later. But I will go ahead and leave this pattern link down below because it's a great place to start if you've never made a raglan before. Okay, so let's start by talking about this one right here, which is made in the merino wool yarn, the Get Knit Faced yarn, which is funny to say. But this yarn, I did have to work into a ball myself, which I had much more success with this time than I did with the Malabrigo yarn. If you watched that video, you will know it literally took me hours because it got all tangled up. But if you don't already know, if you get a yarn, I have it right here, if you get a yarn in a hank like this, then you will have to wind it into either a ball yourself like I did, or you can get a yarn swift and a yarn winder. I have a yarn winder, but I don't have a yarn swift, which I probably need to get eventually. But what I did was essentially just use my knees as a swift and held the yarn in place that way. And then I just continued to wind it around, and it only took me, I want to say like 20-30 minutes to do this. So that is great. And I know that Michelle on her website, I think you can pay a little bit extra to have her work it into a cake for you. And a lot of yarn shops will do that for you as well. But let me show you what this looks like. It is so gorgeous. These colors. Are you kidding me? I love the little specks of red in there. I honestly wasn't sure at first how I was going to feel about the little specks of red. I think it looks so good. And as far as what this yarn is like to work with, it's a dream. It is a dream to work with. It just glides so nicely on the hook. I'm having no problems with it whatsoever. And it does just have that texture of merino wool. Of course, this is only the second time that I've worked with it, but if you think of a wool yarn, you might think that it would be itchy. It's not itchy. This is not itchy at all. It's actually really soft and just a really like, I always want to say squishy, but it is like just this nice squishy texture to it. It does not irritate my skin at all. That is great. So that is this one. I just honestly cannot wait to keep working on this. I love the way this is working up. Here's our mainstays one. I'm going to show you up close what this looks like. You can see that it is much bolder colors than this one, which, you know, I'm kind of an equal opportunity lover of color. I do maybe tend to go for more bold colors, but I love a good pastel moment as well. And as far as like which one's going to look better on me in the end, we will see. But I have my doubts a little bit when it comes to the way this color is starting to pool. Can you see this? I don't know. In certain sections, like right here, it's starting to pool, but in other places, it's like that. I don't know. As we go along, we will see, but I do think that so far anyway, I prefer the variegation of this one over this one. As far as what this is like to work with, I'm happy to say that this is pretty easy to work with. I'm not really having any problems with it splitting or snagging or anything like that. I haven't had any like factory knots or anything like that so far. As far as, you know, the way that it feels texture-wise, it's a little bit scratchier than I expected once it's worked up, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm like trying to decide exactly how I feel about it. If we're going to compare textures, this one is just going to be a bit more scratchy, but we do have to think about in the end that once we steam this and once we wash it, I am going to be washing both of these. Now with this one, you can wash this in the washing machine. With this one, not so much. I do think that this is hand wash only. So that's another thing that you have to think about as well, is that if you're making a garment for yourself, are you going to be willing to take the time to wash it yourself in the sink or whatever? Or do you want to be able to just throw it in the wash? So we are going to be doing some experiments with that as well as we go along, but I don't want to keep switching back and forth like this. So I think I'm going to pick one to work on for a while. And I think I'm just going to have to pick this one, you guys. I just like literally am finding myself like, I can't wait to pick that up again and work with it. So we're going to work with this one, and I will check in with you guys once I'm a little bit further along. has been several days slash weeks later. I don't even know how long it's been. Time is an illusion in the summer. I have no idea. I have gotten this far on each one of these tops, which I think I said I didn't want to go back and forth, but that seems to be the best way for me to structure this video. So I finished the first skein slash ball for each of these. I thought we would go ahead and do a little side-by-side comparison. Let me talk about this one first. And actually, let me just put this on really quick. Lily just did the biggest sigh known to man. Are you okay, ma'am? Anyway, this is what one ball, hank, skein, whatever you want to call it, gets you of this yarn. So I did break for the arms, but I think I only went like one more round after that. I'm in love with it. I think it is so beautiful. It almost looks like tie-dyed. And it's hard to tell from this far away, but once you look at it up close, you can see the little specks of red, and it's just, it gives it that little extra touch. Again, I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about the little specks of red, but I think it's beautiful. Now, as far as what this is like to work with, it continues to be an absolute dream to work with. It's just so easy that it just like glides on the hook. It's lovely. What can I say? And it's a little bit hard to tell just because this is only how far I've gotten, but I can tell that this is going to drape so much better than any yarn that I've possibly ever worked with before. Maybe with the exception of that Sultan yarn, the Hobie yarn, which that one is kind of a pain in the butt to work with, whereas this one is not at all. So now let me take this one off and we will try on this one. Here is how far we got on our mainstays top. And as you can see, one skein of this definitely got us a lot further, but that's not really a fair comparison just because this one is a size 4, whereas this one is a size 3. So of course this one is gonna go farther. Here's the thing, guys. I am really struggling right now, and I've kind of been putting off working on this video because I really went into this thinking I'm going to be able to highlight all of the pros and cons of cheaper yarn versus expensive yarn, and we're going to do like a side-by-side comparison. We're not going to just be like, oh, the expensive yarn is better, duh. I really wanted to be super nuanced about this, and I'm still going to continue to be super nuanced about this, but at this point in the project, the only negative thing I have to say about this yarn is that it's expensive, and the only positive thing I really have to say about this yarn is that it's cheap. And I mean, that is a little bit reductive. I do think that this is a pretty decent yarn for the price in terms of it being super easy to work with. I have not had it split for me. It does not snag. And I have had that problem with cheaper acrylic yarns. I've talked about that with Red Heart. I've talked about that with Karen Simply Soft. Like those type of yarns do tend to split for me quite a bit. I've had no problems with this yarn whatsoever. And also the quality of the yarn skein in terms of it doesn't have any snags in it. It doesn't have any knots in it or anything like that. So, I mean, there are some pros to this yarn, but if I am being honest, which is what I do on this channel, I'm honest, I like this one so much more in almost every single way. I like the colors of this one so much more, just the way that they're working up, as opposed to this one where the color changes just feel a little bit chaotic. I like the colors themselves. I like how bright it is. I just don't like the way that it's kind of pooling in like a very strange way. Maybe you guys like it. You'll have to let me know if you do, but it's just, it doesn't hit the same, I guess, as this. When I look at this, I feel like it looks intentional. It looks, like I said, almost like a tie-dye kind of cool effect, whereas this one just looks really chaotic. Maybe I'll end up liking it in the end. I don't really know. But the other thing that I just have to say, I just have to be honest about is how, again, drapey this one is the exact opposite of how this one is. It just feels really stiff. Now, it doesn't necessarily feel itchy. Like, I'm not wanting to get this off of me immediately. And I have very sensitive skin. You guys know this. But it's just, you know, there's just no comparison. If I'm feeling this and I'm feeling this, this feels a lot softer. But again, once we get done, we are going to do some experiments to try and steam this and see how it feels after that. I do also want to say and be very clear that anything that I have to say about this yarn is about this yarn and not about acrylic yarn in general. I have made 2.5 raglans so far. 2 of them were made in purely acrylic yarn, and then the third one was made in a cotton acrylic blend. And the 2 made in just purely acrylic yarn are a lot softer than this one, and a lot, drapier, just a lot nicer in general. Now, were those yarns a little bit more expensive? I'm not actually sure. I'd have to do the math on that to figure that out. But for the purposes of this video, I did just want to go into the store and basically find the cheapest yarn that I could that could make any sort of comparison to this more expensive one. And so now I'm kind of at this point where I'm questioning my life choices and questioning if this video was even a good idea. I'm hoping that you guys can see that I am trying my best to be honest, but also very fair to both of these yarns and giving them a fair shot. I don't want to come on here and be a yarn snob or be accused of being a yarn snob, because I don't want that to be the type of video that I make where I make somebody feel bad about their yarn choices. So this is just me telling my opinions, and I'm just one lady on the internet. So take everything that I have to say with a grain of salt anyway. I'm going to take this off. I feel ridiculous having this whole speech in this like half top. I think I'll probably check in again once I finish a skein of each of these. Once again, I just think that's the best way for me to structure this. But like, can you see when I'm waving them around, like how much more like drapey and flowy than this one is like super holding its shape? I'm going to finish another skein of each of these and I'll check back in with you. Okay, so it has been a few days and I am here to give you an update on our 2 raglans here. Let me start with this one. Let me go ahead and put it on and we'll talk about it. Here is how far we got with the hand-dyed one. You can't really see, but it's not quite the length I want it yet. I do want to add a few more rows here. Something that I was worried about is that it was going to be really distinct where I added on the new yarn. I do feel like this bottom section does have a bit more of the dark colors than the top half does, but I don't know that it's too noticeable. Let me know if you can tell a difference, but either way, I don't mind the way it looks. Now, one thing that I am kind of noticing, and I don't know again how easy it is to tell on camera, but I do feel like this is a bit more clingy than I expected. You will see with the other one that it's not clinging to me as much. I was just expecting this to be a little bit more flowy, but maybe all of that will be solved with blocking. We will see. Just realized that I have this yarn. I think it needs to go down here. There we go. So this yarn continued to be super, super easy to work with. No problems at all there. And so now we just need to get this to the length that I want it to, and then of course work on all of the other details. But let's talk about the other raglan first. Here is the Mainstays one, and it is almost done. I do have the length almost where I want it. I do think I'm going to go back in and add in a few more rows of single crochet. But at the time when I finished off the length of this, I went ahead and cut the yarn because I wasn't sure if I was going to want to go back in and add like an actual ribbing section, but I don't think I'm going to. I did go ahead and add in the sleeves. I did just a few rows of double crochet and then 1 row of single crochet there at the end. And then for the collar, I added a couple of decrease rows here until it was the way that I want it to be against my neck here. I do think I'm going to add at least 1, maybe even 2 more rows of just single crochet all the way around. By the way, I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of just do all of this by feel and just like try it on, see how I like it, change some things, try it back on. That's just kind of how I do it. Now, I'm looking at this in the camera and this has grown on me. I do like it way more than I thought I was going to. However, I think I might have to redo this arm right here because the way that the yarn is pooling right here is really distracting to me. Does anybody else feel distracted by that? Like the way that the colors, like it looks kind of cool, but because it's not really doing that on the other side, it looks a little weird. I really don't want to have to redo it, but if it makes it a better product in the end, I may just have to. I don't know. But like I said, other than that, I really do like this a lot better than I thought I was going to with my last update. I just knew I was going to hate this, and I felt really worried about the whole concept of this video. But now that it's this far done, like almost done, I like it so much more than I thought I was going to, which really is a relief. Now, while I do think it looks pretty good, besides the weird wonky arm, it doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel like the worst thing I've ever put on my body, but definitely not the best thing that I've ever put on my body. Now, in terms of, like I said, the like flowiness or like the way that it clings to my body, it does not cling to my body nearly as much as the wool yarn, which I really did not expect. But again, I do think it visually looks a lot better. Although, does anyone else feel like it looks a little bit like pink and purple camo? Just me? I don't know. So my plan next is to, again, maybe redo this arm. I think I'm gonna have to. I just really don't like the way that looks. So I'm gonna redo the arm, and then I'm going to finish off all of the little details, and I'm going to completely finish this one to the point where this one is. And then I will check back in with you to kind of get a before steaming look. And then of course we'll do all the steaming and do an after steaming look, but I kind of want to show you like standing up what this looks like once I have it mostly done. So that is the plan, and I will check in with you guys with hopefully a less wonky arm here. So here is a quick look at what each of these raglans look like before I blocked them. For the merino wool one, I did soak this in some cool water and then lay it flat to dry. With the acrylic one, I did steam block this with my steamer on a low setting, and then I threw it in the washer. So with all of that done, all we have to get to is the reveal. So both of my raglans are now done, and in the end, I love both of them. But let's go ahead and talk about this one first, made in the Get Knit Faced NCO yarn, the hand-dyed yarn. I mean, just look at it. First of all, can we admire its beauty? It looks so good. It feels good. I really like how it turned out. It fits me really well. Now, when it came to blocking this, I have never done wet blocking before. That was the first time I've ever done wet blocking, and my technique could use some work. Let's just say that. I don't have a blocking board. I didn't pin it down or anything like that, just because I, again, don't really have a place to block things. I need to dedicate out a space to do that next time. I just didn't want to like put it on the floor because I've got a dog who's walking around and kids might kick it around, you know, all of that stuff. So I really didn't know what to do with it. So I did just put it on my desk on a towel. And I mean, overall, I think it looks pretty good. Now, the one thing that I'm a little unsure about is the sleeves. It's kind of hard to tell, but they like, can you see that they stick out a little bit more than they did originally, and I think that was due to how I had them set out when I was blocking them. I do feel like it would be a pretty easy fix if I do care to fix it. I could probably just do like one more decrease round, or maybe when I wash it and set it out again, I could kind of reshape it, but you guys let me know what I should do about that, because I'm not really sure, and then I'm not really sure that it bothers me enough to redo it. Looking at myself on camera, it really doesn't look too bad at all. So the other thing that's, for me, not really a con, but let me show you, let me stand up. So you can see a little bit more distinctly where I added that third skein of yarn. I do feel like you can almost kind of see the line of it a little bit more. It doesn't really bother me. I kind of understand that this is hand-dyed yarn. Each skein is going to be a little bit different from each other, but since they were all dyed, this set was all dyed at the same time, and so they all still have those same tones. It doesn't bother me that there's like a little bit of a distinction there, but if it bothers you, I know that you have the option of switching skeins more often, and that way there's not a very distinct line. That is always an option. I knew that was an option to begin with, but again, it doesn't really bother me personally at all, but if it bothers you, that's an option. Now, besides those two things, the only other con, I guess you could say, is that it is more involved to have to wash, because this particular yarn is hand wash only and lay flat to dry. Now, I know that there are some merino wool yarns that you can wash in the washing machine. I don't know if it's just because this one is hand dyed that you really don't want to mess with that. So, having to wash things by hand and having to lay them flat to dry, again, is not really something that I'm accustomed to doing. But because I really like this so much, I am willing to put in that work. But it is just like one more step to have to think about. But again, I am really happy with the way that this looks, and I'm really happy with the way that it worked up. It was such a nice yarn to work with and makes a great final piece. Okay, you guys, so now let's talk about the mainstay shirt, which in the end, I do really like. I was so worried at certain points of the process that I wasn't gonna like this and that I wasn't going to want to wear this, but in the end, I do like it, and I am definitely going to be wearing this. Also, looking at myself in the camera now, I have to acknowledge the fact that I don't actually know which side is the front and which is the back. And I'm pretty sure I wore this the opposite way in the reveal shot. I think I like this way better. I don't really know. I don't know that it actually matters. After steaming, I noticed it was so much softer already. And then I washed this in the washer and dried it in the dryer as usual. And it's even softer now. Now, is it the softest thing I've ever put on my body? No. Is it as nice to wear as the merino wool shirt? No. But it is not irritating me at all. And I have very sensitive skin. We've been over this on the channel. I will tell you if a yarn irritates my skin, and this one is not irritating my skin at all. So now we need to talk the final price for each of these raglans. So with each of them, I used 2 full skeins / hanks. With this one, I used just a little bit of a third one. And with this one, I used about half, maybe a little less than half of a third skein to make this one, which if we round up to 3 for each, that brings this one to about $10.50 and this one to $87. Now, while that is a very big price difference, you do have to take into consideration that with this one, you are buying a wool yarn. It is a hand-dyed yarn. It is supporting a small business. And with this one, it is made with acrylic, and you're supporting, well, Walmart, which I'm not knocking that. We all have to shop at these big corporations in these trying times. I buy my groceries from Walmart because it's the most affordable option for my family right now. And I am not knocking that at all, but I will say that it does feel good to support a small business when and if you can. In the end, I feel like I am leaving this experiment with the mindset that I was hoping to have, and that is that no matter what your budget is, you are able to create a beautiful piece either way. I was really worried, like I said, at certain points in the process that I wasn't gonna feel that way and that maybe I was going to turn into a yarn snob, but in the end, I do think that no matter what your budget is, no matter where you can get your yarn, you can crochet something that you can wear or that you can give as a gift or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. The truth is, for me, I'm the type of person that enjoys the process of crocheting just as much as I enjoy that finished piece. And so for me, of course, crocheting with a merino wool was a luxurious experience that, you do have to pay a little bit more for. But for a $2.50 per skein yarn, with this one, I didn't have any problems with it splitting, with it snagging, and I think there was only one factory knot in the 2 and part of another skein that I crocheted with, and so honestly, I consider that a win. Thank you so much for watching today's video and for sticking with me in this one. It was a really interesting, fun experiment for me. It was a roller coaster ride, that's for sure, but I really did enjoy the process of making both of these, and I'm so excited to have 2 new shirts to wear. As always, if you have made it to this part of the video, I want to know, what were you working on as you watched today's video? If you did like today's video, be sure to hit the like button. You can subscribe, stick around, let me know what other kind of videos you want to see next. You can join my Patreon where I make a bonus video as well as an exclusive pattern once a month. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.